Yeah, I get right to the racks. Then I make that shit back. Run up on me, get shot in the back.
The changing in the benefit of the Scotch at the back. Big American. That's what we got.
For that ass.
How did the British Empire rule the world? Another UK culture video. We love to do this history videos. The first video we did was every country that England has invaded.
Which is the whole world. They invaded the whole world.
So go check that video. I'm gonna put the link below after you watch this one first. Like the video, follow me on JTV Instagram, 100% Instagram. Yeah. And join the Discord too, below.
Yeah, if it's your first time tuning in, we have a Discord where people
request, talk to us on a daily basis, talk about what our days is like, right?
Yeah, and this channel, you say we play. So when you hit us up, you could DM us, subscribe, request, react. You say we play.
Yes, sir. Like the video.
Very interactive channel, actually. One of the most interactive channels
on YouTube. Like the video. Let's have a word to it. Let me talk.
Because we for the people, by the people.
Let's get it.
You heard? I'm about to become a naturalized citizen.
We can't see you in the frame, but he's standing up right now. Oh, he told me to be quiet.
The British Empire may not have technically ruled the world, but it was in fact the largest empire to exist at any point throughout history. Reaching across the globe and carrying on over multiple centuries, the British Empire owes its success and ability to expand so widely. The geographical position of Great Britain served as a major advantage to the growing empire. Given that the nation was an island, the likelihood of being invaded or conquered was somewhat lower than a country that was surrounded on all sides.
That makes sense because, boats weren't as, I'm sure there was boats.
I guess it's more what they're trying to say is
it's harder.
It's harder to sneak in. You gotta come in through boat.
Yeah, and I'm sure back then they didn't have the crazy big boats.
Yeah. Think about it, when you lay down in your little ass bathtub, nobody could come in the bathroom because you hear them.
That is true. Wow.
It's a bad analogy.
Fuck
I'm saying.
Although Britain was not completely immune to incursions, it definitely benefited geographically, both in terms of external threats and when it came to any border disputes. Britain had a pretty clear and straightforward...
You know what my question is for the comments, maybe you guys can educate me? And doesn't India have billions of people? How did they let Great Britain, a small country, invade them? Oh, I know they answer weapons, kind of. I guess weapons, but come on, there's billions. You guys should just charge.
Well, the one thing we're saying again, subscribe to the channel and request and comment below and help us learn, because you guys have taught us a lot. That the UK has, they have a history of a strong navy. You know what I mean? So maybe India wasn't as prepared, wasn't as organized as the British.
For sure.
And I think that's the key.
But there's strength in numbers, I feel like. That's how I look at it.
But India got wild numbers, then they should have won if it's by a numbers game.
So the numbers don't count?
To any border disputes. Britain had a pretty clear and straightforward border between itself and any other nations. While Scotland and England split the landmass that was bilaterally united with the ascension of Scotland's King James VI to the throne of England in 1603, both states would together make up the nation of Great Britain by 1707, sharing their outward borders with nothing but the North Atlantic Ocean and the North Sea. Open position with easy access for maritime expeditions also gave Great Britain an upper hand when it came to reaching other countries and continents. Needing only to cross over foreign land when they wished to reach countries more inward on their continent, the Brits were able to sail to just about any coastal nation without much resistance.
Yeah, they had a strong navy.
Oceanic adventures would not have been so effortless for the British Empire without a strong naval fleet. This is where the size and power of the Royal Navy became a center point of British success. While Great Britain did not always control the world's oceans, the reason they began to skyrocket as an unignorable maritime power by the 18th century is largely due to the fact that they invested more money and ships and guns than other naval forces. The government and citizens of the British Empire truly believed that the future of their wealth was to be found through the ocean. Recognizing the importance of British trade as well as a fleet that could also defend their land if ever required, the Brits made sure to adequately fund the Royal Navy.
Wow.
The Empire's focus on trade additionally contributed vastly to its triumphant transcontinental growth. Intent more on gaining wealth and increasing trade than on consolidating power through conquest, the Brits were able to create a more desirable environment for others to become a part of. After the successful colonization attempts in North America and the West Indies during the 1600s, the British Empire began to establish a commercial...
Hey UK, you are daddy. Hi father. Father of the United States, you are daddy.
Most of the islands.
Hi dad.
system that allowed for exponential success within Great Britain and its overseas territories. Colonies were granted monopolies for their products in the British market, and therefore were to conduct trade via British ships. In 1651, the Navigation Act would prompt the development of a closed economy between the empire and its colonies, thus creating a system where all colonial imports were required to come from Great Britain and all colonial exports were to be sent directly to the British market by the way of British ships. During the same century, the British East India Company was established as a means of trade between Great Britain, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and India. Initially focused on the spice trade, the East India Company later incorporated other goods such as silk, cotton, tea, opium, and more.
My favorite, opium.
Made its way into the company later on, despite the origin being purely based on establishing more trade opportunities. Driven limitlessly by the concept of controlling a global trade market, the British Empire continued to extend its reach across the continents of Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and the Americas.
Crazy.
While the process of colonization varied from territory to territory, one thing that remained consistent...
It's the smallest land on the map. Like, Great Britain, as you see here, is the smallest land.
Tiny.
And they took over a bunch of countries. They were just more advanced than everybody.
They were advanced. They had troops. They had a naval fleet. They had...
You guys were advanced. I'll give it to you. You know what I'm saying?
Hi, Daddy.
...was the form in which these expeditions began. Unlike other empires who chose to expand through the use of military might and sovereign claims to power, the British facilitated most of their expansion through the establishment of trading posts and systems. Nonetheless, the British Empire was not a completely non-violent authority. On top of the Anglo-Dutch and Anglo-Spanish wars near the start of British expansion, the Empire also engaged in conflict with its American colonies during the American Revolutionary War, later followed by the dissension in India, succeeding the decline of the Mughal Empire, and leaving the British East India Company as a prominent political power in the region. The presence of Britain in India was also notably more forceful than some of their other trade-focused enclaves, demonstrated by the expansion of the East India Company's power through the threat of violence against those who protested. The continued tensions between the British and French were no longer secluded in India either, as the 7 Years' War erupted in 1756, lasting until the Treaty of Paris was signed in 1763, leaving Britain as the leading power across India and the world's oceans. When the American Revolutionary War came in 1775, after the British Empire responded to the No Taxation Without Representation movement of the Americans by sending troops to try and subdue the colonies, France and Spain chose once again to go to war with Britain, now as allies of the newly declared United States. In 1783, at the Peace of Paris, the British Empire was forced to acknowledge American independence, in turn relinquishing any control over their former
How about that?
Devising a new strategy after such a drastic loss of territory, Great Britain now turned its attention toward the continents of Asia, Africa, and Australia.
Get out of here.
Marketing what some historians call the beginning of the Second British Empire. Though trade between the United States and Great Britain actually continued after the installation of independence...
Would you say Great Britain is strong? I feel like America's stronger, right?
No, yeah, there's nobody bigger than the United States.
No, but I'm just, it's kind of interesting how like tables could turn though, right? It's like, you know, they were strong at one point, but everybody gets their turn at one point, I feel like.
I think I'm being arrogant when I say that. I think China's in control of the world. And yeah, we might bicker back and forth and people put shit in the comments. But at the end of the day, China runs the world. They supply all your products. They supply a lot of your rice and food and wheat. And more importantly, every country owes China money.
Wow.
Every country. So China's ahead. They're the most powerful in the world right now.
The Empire chose to utilize the uncolonized coasts of Australia, which had been discovered by a Dutch explorer, Willem Janszoon, in 1606, and later claimed for the British Crown by James Cook in 1770 under the name of New South Wales.
Jimmy Cook.
Still feeding their fresh craving for expansion in South Asia, the British suddenly engaged in a series of conflicts after the Battle of Plassey, which had occurred in 1757. By 1774, the British Empire took on a chain of attacks. The Anglo-Mysore Wars were fought until 1799, followed by clashes with the Pindaris. Attacks on places like Sindh and Burma also accelerated the new consolidation efforts of the British East India Company, on top of what was referred to as the Doctrine Lapse, where the Brits forbid the ascension to the throne of any Hindu ruler if they were not the natural heir. Once the current Hindu leader either died or was removed in some way, the British would occupy his state and gain control.
Wow.
These acts by the British Empire, combined with other forms of forced westernization of the Hindus, led to the Sepoy Mutiny of 1857 to 1859. Tired of the current heavy-handed British rule, the Indian troops of Meru sparked a rebellion that would spread throughout the nation. Peace was finally declared in July of 1859, and the British East India Company was scrapped. Although the empire maintained a level of control under the crown until 1947. During this span of time, Great Britain set about making its presence better known in Africa as well. Although the Royal African Company had been established back in the 17th century,
there were just British troops, like they would have embassies that was like, America has embassies, they would have a bunch of embassies everywhere, or how would that?
I think it was bigger than embassies. Embassies is more the modern thing. I think back then they ran shit. Yeah. They ran the government. You had an old British white guy running telling all the Indians what to do.
Why?
Straight up and down, like what?
Ample profit in the slave trade until its abolition in 1807. It was not until the 19th century that the Brits realized the potential benefit of forming a trade route across Africa, with its eyes set on establishing outposts spanning from Egypt down to the southern half of the continent. The British Empire found itself in a race against the other growing European powers, such as Italy and Germany, which eventually led to the Berlin Conference. The conference, which occurred in 1884, was intended to create some harmony between the competing colonizers. Great Britain was ultimately awarded most of northeastern Africa and all of southern Africa.
How you awarded somebody else's
country? In the continent, the British Empire ruled over approximately 30% of the African population. Globally, at the height of Britain's domination, it controlled roughly 22 to 25% of the world's land surface, and by 1938, governed around 20% of the world's population.
They didn't even touch South.
This remarkable prosperity was accomplished through a geographical advantage, supreme naval might, and the strategic focus on trade and wealth over bullish sovereign power for the sake of an emperor.
God. You gotta stick over everybody, man. Wow, that's wild, man. It's Jerry TV, this video Scott channel. What other videos we should do? I want to do more UK history, culture videos. They're great.
The UK history is fascinating.
We're learning together, guys. But you probably already know. You're probably going to educate us in the comments anyway. If you're new, change, subscribe, request, videos out here.
Yeah, help these dumb Americans.
Help. And request and subscribe, right?
Yeah, subscribe, request. We out of here.
Peace.
Hey, hit the block, catches that slipping, we spinning in that drop. Bullets Tyson biting, fuck, I look like I ain't got a box. Ain't sparing no nigga, he trot me and I'ma pop his top.